Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Wheel Talk podcast. My name is Abby Mickey, and I'm here with friends to talk about women's professional road cycling. Today with me, as always, Gracie Elvin.
G'day, g'day. Or I think I just stole Loren's line, but I'll take it this week. I've done this before. I never prep what I'm going to say, even though I know it's coming. I need to do better.
Loren Rowney, hello.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are.
We're going to talk about Valencia. We're going to talk about the new Paris Roubaix Femmes course and Zwift. And then, we can't not mention the Winter Olympics, but we'll tie it to cycling, we promise. Let's start with Setmana Valenciana. No World Tour races over the weekend, but we did have Setmana Valenciana, which is as close to a World Tour race as you can get without being actual World Tour, especially in the lineup. We had a handful of World Tour teams and top names at the race. And although a couple of the stages were massively impacted by weather, it still went ahead. Demi Vollering took 2 stage wins, and the overall Kat Ferguson won stage 2, and stage 3 was canceled due to high winds. Overall, the race was, a lot of teams use this race as like a final prep before going into the spring classics and kind of like a feeler of how form is for riders who didn't go to maybe Tour Down Under or UAE Tour. And so especially for like Demi Vollering, probably the biggest name at this race who hasn't raced yet this year. This was a real like feeler of form, and for Vollering and a couple other riders on FDJ who will be targeting the later races coming up. Yeah, for Demi, she's in a similar spot as she was last year because she also won Valenciana last year at the first stage, and opened her books with FDJ United Suez with a win. Looking pretty good going into the spring classics.
Yeah, can we talk a bit about what actually happened at that race? Because I think the weather had a pretty big impact, and there was a bit of like maybe controversy on stage 1 as well because of that.
Was a bit of controversy around the weather. So the first stage, it was really windy, and the teams wanted to vote to see if the race would go ahead. FDJ United Suez and EF Education Oatly both voted for the race to go, but the rest of the peloton, it sounds like, weren't comfortable with the race proceeding. In the end, the race organizers sided with FDJ United Suez and decided that the race should go ahead anyway. And there was, if you watch back on YouTube, they have the full coverage of all 3 stages. And if you watch the first stage, you can see like everyone voting, and then like it kind of cuts to the race car just kind of taking off with the guy standing at the top with the flag and Demi riding behind it. And she's the only one riding, and everyone else is standing there like, what? So there was a bit of confusion.
And not a favorable image either for Demi, I don't think. But I wonder, like, where did the process fail here? And, we talk a lot about the Cyclist Alliance on this podcast, but something that the CPA does well is the weather protocols. And really that's been one of their strengths, I guess, for a long time, in having representatives at the race to be part of making those decisions around extreme weather. So I'm just wondering, and I'm actually not sure how this process works fully currently. In like from those images we saw, it looked like the whole peloton got a vote. From what we're hearing, some of the directors were able to strong arm some of the decisions. So where was the failure there? Why was there the majority, by the look of it, of the peloton that didn't agree with the race going ahead, although then it did go ahead?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why take a vote and have the majority vote against racing and then decide that it was 2 teams, right, who said that they were happy to race? 2 teams out of how many? So yeah, complete failure there. As you said, Gracie, I'm not sure either, but it's definitely something to look into. I'm curious to hear the commentary from Heidi, who was there on the ground with her team.
20 teams total. So 18 teams voted that they didn't want to proceed with the race. And from the sounds of it, the weather was really terrifying in the beginning of the race, and it did die down as the race continued. And by the midway point, it wasn't nearly as dangerous, but it sounded like, there there were some very scared riders in the bunch as the race started. And it's not a World Tour peloton as well. I mean, there's smaller teams on the start list for this race. So it's not like, I mean, it doesn't really make a huge difference. I think it's a World Tour race versus like a smaller race with non-World Tour teams. But in theory, the World Tour riders know how to handle a bike better, and so strong winds are less of a hazard. But if you have a mixture of both in the peloton and it's going at World Tour speed with riders who aren't as capable, then that's an even more dangerous scenario.
I would say it's more at stake as well for the smaller teams, because with how the calendar works now, there's less opportunities to race to begin with. So if you get an invite to a race like this, you want to take that opportunity. So the fact that, some of those teams also agreed it was unsafe just goes to show how unsafe they must have felt in that moment. And, this race runs later in the day anyway, so it's not like they could have tried to delay the start time or had looked at maybe shortening the race and doing loops. Because when you look at where that race is raced, it's a lot of big open roads that they can't keep them closed for too long because it disrupts traffic around that area. Like Valencia is a busy region. So, yeah, I was pretty disappointed by that. But at the end of the day, yeah, the flag was dropped and everyone looked confused and the race went on. But I can imagine there would have been some mixed feelings at the start of the race.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
In the peloton, because I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, Gracie or Abby, where there has been a delay for a race start for whatever reason, and then you're kind of like, you got to switch your brain on and off and on and off, and then you're telling yourself, okay, well, now the race is off, and then it's on, and it's like, clearly for Demi the whole time the race was on in her head. So in terms of the outcome at the end of the race, I'm kind of unsurprised.
Yeah, I mean, if she was one of the only ones in the peloton that was like really pushing for the race to go ahead, and obviously like having won the last edition, she would want this race to go ahead. And the third stage looked really good for her, the one that was canceled. And that one was like, the wind on that stage was nuts. They talked about having an uphill time trial instead, but in the end they canceled the stage altogether. And it sounds like in the men's race that was close by, not like related in any way, but there was another men's race going on in a similar location. Riders were literally getting blown off the road. So it was really extreme wind at that point. I would like to petition for the UCI to make their all the information on bike racing easier to find and read. I don't know if they have they take lawyers and they're like, okay, we want you to write this in the most complicated way that you possibly can.
Well, imagine having to read all this crap and study for that rider's agent exam.
No, I don't want to.
Hundreds and hundreds of pages. And you have to read it all, because with the exam, and I'm going on a tangent now, it's all this kind of stuff that can be in there. But if you think as an agent, it is kind of relevant, because if your rider messages you and says, oh, the team is forcing me to race and I feel unsafe, you could probably go and look up, I don't know, within the rule book or something and throw something back at the team. I don't know. Just,
yeah.
It's very hard. It's not digestible. Sometimes you probably need a little bit of AI to help you break it down into layman's terms, and then
Anyway,
the real problem with the weather protocol, it sounds like the breakdown at this race and a problem in general is that they really left it to the riders to make the decision about whether or not the race was going to go ahead. And you're never going to unify an entire peloton about something ever. It doesn't matter what it is. There is always going to be one person who wants the race to go ahead, and the organizers are always going to side with that one person because the organizers want the race to go ahead. They're not out on the road risking their lives to be part of the event. They put a lot of money and time and resources into making the event happen. And, 9 times out of 10, they're going to want it to happen regardless and hope that nothing happens. And so if you put a decision like that in the rider's hands where you have multiple players who have stakes in the race going forward, then it's just never going to be a favorable outcome for the peloton as a whole. The issue is that, yeah, you have the riders the organizers who want the race to go ahead. The UCI isn't going to step in and make the call for anyone because they like to remain neutral and not have any, not get themselves involved in anything. And then you have the riders who all want something different, you know, like some of the riders would rather stay safe. Some of the riders really want to race. And so it's just never, no one is going to win in a situation like this, except for Demi, because she won the stage, won the decision and won the stage.
You both have kind of touched on it. Like, she probably was going to win anyway, but I think that would have been a very disruptive way to start the race for most people and hard to get into that kind of headset. But we can still take away that she's, you know, coming into the season with good form. There was plenty of other good riders there. And yeah, probably, I don't know if this race really sets the tone or anything. I don't think it does. I think it was just a messy few days for everyone. Most people got some amount of racing. Most people were able to stay safe, thankfully. And yeah, full steam ahead for the classics. But I did laugh at those images.
Yeah. I sent you guys a video, like a video clip of just the like 20 seconds where it's like, what is happening? No, I think you're right. I think there's not a ton we can like take away from this race ahead of the classics, because it is a much different race, and yeah, there's a lot going on. But I think like if there's anything we can take away, it's that Canyon SRAM's Zonda Crypto have a lot of potential in Antonia Niedermeyer, who has shown promise before, but I think they're a team that really leans on Kasia in a lot of ways. And Niedermeyer was really one of the only riders who could hang on to Demi's wheel, like when she attacked on the first stage and then again on the final stage. So it was great to see her riding so well. And I mean, I think for me, the standout rider from this race yet again is Maeva Squibon, who finished second overall and second on multiple stages, and is going into this season just looking like an entirely different rider than she did 1 year ago. That those Tour de France Femme wins for her just lit her on fire, and I'm so excited to see what she continues to pull out as the season progresses.
Yeah, I think going on to any start line, confidence is key, and we always talk about how winning creates winners. You need to get those wins under your belt, and I think for her and for both teams, you referred to Canyon SRAM. Kasia is coming towards the end of her career, and so is Elisa Longo Borghini. So they're just setting themselves up nicely for what's to come next as well. That these riders are getting these opportunities to go into these leadership roles where they've got that pressure on them to get that winning mentality. So it becomes more of an easier transition. You never want to be in a position where you have a big leader leave. And then, you know, it doesn't always work out well when you try to bring a new leader onto the team, integrate into a team that's been working together for a while. We've seen that happen with a few teams. So I think they're definitely finding their rhythm. I'm excited to see what Niedermeyer can do in the Helia Tours coming up now, with the spacing between the Volta, the Giro, and the Tour de France. I think there'll be plenty of opportunities where her and Kasia won't be fighting necessarily for a leadership role, and have their own opportunities. So, and for me, a standout again, we're going to be talking about her a lot, and Gracie said lead up to the classics, is Kat Ferguson. She is just incredible, and it's great to see her get these opportunities and have the full backing of Movistar. I'm very excited to see what she does in the classics this year, and what she does in the stage races when she gets that opportunity to have another crack at the sprint.
I mean, when she won that second stage, it wasn't even a competition. Like, there was no one close to her at all. It was really impressive.
It was a technical finish, and unfortunately with the camera angle, you don't get to see the full run in. But what I'm guessing is that she's a really skilled rider. She got the jump on everyone. She's so strong too, but it's clear that she got that jump and just hold on to that massive gap.
Yeah. There was also a big crash on stage 2 that took out Silke Smulders, and it sounds like she has a pretty significant injury. According to the early reports, she has a fractured lumbar vertebrae, but I asked her press officer before recording if she had any updates, and she said no, they don't have any updates just yet. So hopefully we'll know more about Silke later on this week, but a huge blow to Liv Alula-Jayco. She was one of their most exciting riders last year. So I hope that the recovery time isn't too long for her, although that doesn't sound like an easy recovery process.
No, she's had some bad luck, and at the start of the season, it's shit. She's going to miss a lot of the races that she likes too, unfortunately, but time enough to bounce back before the huge summer block.
I just want to say something before I forget it. And just kind of circling back to seeing some riders get their moments, even though they're not their number ones on the teams, like Niedermeyer and Squiban. This is a pro instead of a con to how many World Tour races we have, is that we are seeing a better spread of opportunities across the team. So it's not perfect. We go on and on about the calendar. We go on and on about team sizes, but there's moments like this where you see riders who aren't the Neodomas or the Longoborghinis have those moments of opportunity. They've got a couple of results to back them up. They've got the confidence, but they've also got the team that's got the confidence in them, giving them that opportunity. And I really liked how you said that, Loren, in that they're kind of building that succession planning into their overall strategy. They're teaching these riders how to win. I've been on teams where that hasn't been the case. You rock up season after season and it never changes. We're always going for rider A and rider B, and no one else really gets a shot. Even though we kind of talk about it, we're always a bit too chicken to actually play that out. Once we get to those races, we just fall back on our A plan, which doesn't always work. So yeah, I think sometimes we can be a bit negative about the World Tour calendar, and I feel like this is a good moment to be like, well, this is actually a good thing. Well, this is not a World Tour race, but because there are so many races now throughout the season, most of them being World Tour, but a handful of them not, that still attract these big teams, is giving these riders more opportunities to keep getting those results. And we're not just talking about those top 10 or top 20 riders all the time.
I mean, even like for riders on smaller you have like your World Tour teams, then you have like your smaller World Tour teams like Uno X Mobility, which is like kind of slowly cracking its way into the top. But we talked about her last year, May Bjørndal Ottestad. She also had a really great race and has had a really incredible start to the season as well, which like going into the classics with Uno X Mobility, they will really want to see some success in these early season classics. So the fact that she's riding so well that she made a selection on the final stage that was the winning group and ended up in the top 3 of the overall is huge for her. Huge for her, huge for Uno X Mobility, huge for Norway. They don't really need any sporting kudos at the moment with the Winter Olympics going on, but
this is true. And just on that, something that we're going to see, and it's very apparent to me also when I put on the agent hat now, since the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift has become this huge thing. It's as big as the men's Tour de France for women's cycling as it is for men's cycling. So teams want to have climbers. That's the thing now. Every team wants a contender for the Tour de France Femme. That is a huge goal now. So for someone like Mia Ottestad, a top 5 at the Tour de France Femme would be a huge success for a team like Uno X. So I'm definitely seeing that is what a lot of teams are looking for and what they're trying to build. In terms of points, I think you still have to have a really strong classics team because that's where you can accumulate so many points in a short period of time. You think you win a few classics, they're worth 400 UCI points, which is the same as winning a tour. So we're going to see a focus on all these top teams trying to get that GC rider or at least look for the next GC contender for the Tour de France.
No stage 3. The wind was crazy. And then stage 4 was, the final stage went down to a little selection, a small selection. And Demi won it from the sprint. Really the main contender in that sprint was Liana Lippert, but Demi took it pretty easily in the end. But it was that kind of small selection that determined the rest of the GC. because since this third stage, which was really billed to be the Queen stage, was canceled, the GC other than Demi, since she won the first stage solo, with like I think it was a 19K long attack. It was a huge attack. And she won by over a minute. So in the end, the GC below Demi was really close. Like Maeva 1 minute 2 seconds. May was only 10 seconds later than her, and then Niedermeyer was on the same time. And that would have been the finish of the final stage that determined who got third in the overall between those two. So yeah, overall, I think this race is really great. It's like a great place in the calendar for the riders who don't make the trip to Australia and also don't race UAE Tour. And I think it's like, yeah, it's a nice way to see how some riders are going, but also good for teams to kind of get their organization ironed out before they go to Belgium in a couple weeks.
Less than 2 weeks till the opening weekend. It will forever be the opening weekend, even though there's so much other racing that's happening beforehand. But yeah, I'm so excited to see the rest of the season unfold for Maeva Swiman, because I think she's a really gutsy rider. She is not afraid to have a crack, and we really saw that on the fourth stage. Niedermeyer was really smart in the way that she raced, and I really enjoyed watching Demi like try to throw down the gauntlet or whatever you say, and then she was just there holding on, not looking too much under pressure, but she might have a great poker face opposed to her teammate Cassie Nieuwendomer. But that was really good to see. Like Vollering was really having a few hard cracks. Like it wasn't the toughest climb, but you could see that she's obviously built really well over the winter. And yeah, I said it before, I'm excited to see her in some of the Helia harder tours that are coming up.
All right, well, speaking of what's coming up, it's still a little bit of a ways away, but the ASO released the new route for Paris Roubaix Femmes coming up in some months. And we already kind of touched on this in a previous podcast, I think, but I think we should dive into it a little bit more today. The biggest changes for Paris Roubaix Femmes this year, course-wise, is that they've cut the opening circuits in Denain to... Loren, you can correct any of my pronunciations, hopefully. They had those opening circuits to begin with, but they're not going to do the opening circuits. Instead, they ride south, and they've added 3 sectors of cobbles. There's one earlier on in the race, 2 that aren't super hard, and then they do one like right before the Hornang cobbles. That's a 4-star cobbled sector. It's a 2.5 kilometer long sector of 4 stars, so it is quite significant, and it's 90.6 kilometers from the finish, but close enough to the start of the race that it's going to be, I think, significant in how many riders it spits out the back of the peloton and the team sizes going into the rest of the race. Every single cobble sector does some damage, and I think this one will do more damage than we've seen earlier in Paris Roubaix Femmes than in the past, because in the past we had, the circuits that have no cobbles, and really the breakaway with Alison Jackson that eventually won the race in 2023. That year, the circuits made a difference, but then last year we didn't see the circuits make much of a difference. And this year we're going to have cobbles earlier than ever before. So in that way, it is the hardest Paris Roubaix Femmes course we've ever seen. However, probably the biggest change for me is the date. We used to have it on the Saturday, and then the men's race was on the Sunday. But this year they are going to run the women 90 minutes after the men start. Or 90 minutes after the men pass. So that means that the women will be racing over the whole course after the men, and the caravan has passed it, and the women will finish after, which in the press release by ASO, they reference the Flanders Classics races that finish after the men's races and how successful that was. To me, that really felt just like a cop-out. But yeah, I think it's an interesting discussion. Like when I I asked a couple directors what they thought of this change, and heard back from the director, one of the directors for SD Works Pro Time, and he said it's a great change that the women get to race on the same day as the men. So let's discuss.
Loren, you've been there most recently. I think there's pros and cons to both, but I'm keen to hear what Loren thinks since being on the ground.
I guess there's a few things. Yeah, I've been on the ground the past 3 years in different sort of roles. It was really nice a couple of years ago to be there with the Escape crew and Matt Denise, and we got to podcast. We did like a live recording in the middle of the velodrome when Gepecki actually won, which was incredible. I agree with most of the commentary that running it on the same day is a mistake, and there's a few different reasons. So running it on the day with the ASO's Grand Fondo seemed to work well. It was always a great vibe. So you had all the people that had done the Grand Fondo, and then they hung around in the velodrome for the event. Now, when Zwift was partnering, Zwift would invite, all their sort of connections within the industry. Quite often I would go to their VIP area, and it was a great place to connect and mingle with people who are really invested in the women's side of the sport. And it was also a nice opportunity to get brands and sponsors there. Both sponsored the men's team and the women's team, but the focus was on the women, purely on the women on that day. The women finished, I think, around 6:00 again. So it is a later finish. It's roughly the same time on the Sunday. But what I will compare it to, and I was having this discussion with my husband, I do wonder out on course, people seem to think people will hang around. It is a really long day when you're out on course to begin with, because you have to set up pretty early to get a good spot. And we've seen it with some of the classics where the women finish after. Is it a huge deal that a lot of the fanfare does move on, or will we see it like at the Claremont? I think most of the fans still hang around for Flanders. So that's one consideration in terms of fan engagement. Their argument, I think, from the ASO is in terms of TV coverage, that people will stay tuned in to watch the end of the women's race. I think the same amount of people are still going to watch Saturday or Sunday, to be honest. So I don't see it increasing in coverage. So I don't know. In terms of the organization, I feel it's just going to be really chaotic. The women are starting now, I think, at 2:30 in the afternoon. And correct me if I'm wrong, is that later than last year, or is it the same time? I guess it's roughly the same time.
I think it's a little bit later. I think, yeah, and in terms of like TV coverage, one of the things that we've always been pushing for is start to finish coverage of Paris Roubaix Femmes, and I don't know how that's going to be easier for them to organize with the men's race going on at the same time. Like, to me, it seemed like a no-brainer that when the women were racing on Saturday that we should have start to finish coverage, and now, like, well, it's like one of the only races that people really tune in for the entire thing start to finish because of how hectic it is and how much can happen throughout the whole course. And now, like, for the viewers at home, I saw one of the comments on, I think it was on the Discord, about how, like, it's already a really long day in front of the TV, and how are they going to then sit through the women's race as well if it's after the men's?
I think the big point there, and I completely missed that, is the fact that the biggest point in terms of coverage is it's true. People do want to tune in to the whole race from when the cobbles kick off, and they kick off pretty early. So you're going to have to choose. You can't watch both races at the same time, because when it's really kicking off with the men, I think they finish an hour and a half before the women. It will be kicking off with the women too. So the true women's cycling fans are going to watch the women's race. Like myself, I would take priority to watch the women's race and maybe briefly flick over to watch the last kilometer or so of the men's race. But I think when you have the fan base that enjoy both, they're going to miss a chunk of the women's race, because with Roubaix, you don't want to miss the last hour and a half. Like, if you're going to just tune in for a short portion of the race, I think it's like minimum an hour and a half.
I couldn't get a straight answer out of the ASO when I asked them about this, but the decision to have them both on the same day, I wonder if it has anything to do with financial resources and the fact that Zwift is no longer a title sponsor of Paris Roubaix Femmes. They kind of really, really quietly pulled sponsorship from Paris Roubaix Femmes, and of course they're still sponsoring the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift through 2029, I believe it is. But yeah, they've been a title sponsor of Paris Roubaix Femmes since it first started, and this year they aren't. And so I wonder if obviously it is more expensive to have two separate races on two separate days. In terms of like road closures and like volunteers, staff, organization, all of these things, it's a bigger budget to do that than to just have them on the same day. So yeah, I wonder if that's and I asked the ASO, and I was redirected like 3 times and then never got an answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the proof will be in the pudding. I think we'll just see what happens, and we'll get some good feedback from the teams and the riders as well. I think the viewing experience in my mind is a big question mark as to how that's going to work if you can watch both at the same time, because I remember in the past with the Flanders Classics, sometimes they did cut in and out of the women's race, and that was really annoying. Or they would have an interview, or they would just, you wouldn't actually be able to see all of it. So not sure there. I don't know if I love the women's races finishing after men's races in general. I think that is I understand the reasoning behind it, but I actually don't think it works as well as they think it does. And maybe that's a bit of internalized sexism for me, but I feel like a lot of people watching who are going to be on those gnarly cobble sections, it's better to see the women come across them first and then the men, because we go on and on about it's not the same sport. You shouldn't compare men's cycling with women's cycling and vice versa. But like at the end of the day, people who are standing on the side of the road, they're comparing, and they're not going to be as excited when the women come across slightly slower. Like they're still going so fast and they're so strong, and we all know how amazing they are. But when it's like within an hour or so of watching the men scream across there too, like I think it takes the shine off, and I think that does a disservice to how amazing our female athletes are and what they can do that most mortal people cannot do, and they don't even realize they can't do it. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like the pros are that
I love that
there's going to
point.
be some party people on that day. It's going to be a big Sunday. I've been on the course on a Sunday at Paris Roubaix when it was only men's. It was pretty fun. It was a good party. I've raced Flanders heaps of times on the Sunday where people are partying all day. That is really cool. And so I hope that the riders get that experience when it's just barbecues galore and it's just people along the whole course route. So yeah, I think that could be a pro. But yeah, I think that the cons maybe still outweigh the pros on this one. And I think Abby's probably on the money there about the money.
I think you're right that like we'll see. And I hope that the ASO, if they get the numbers back in the viewing figures and they aren't what we've seen in the past couple of years with Paris Roubaix Femmes, that they'll maybe rethink the decision to have them both on the same day, because I don't see how having them on the same day will not affect negatively the viewing figures, which is a huge thing in cycling. That's how, a majority of the world sees bike races, is on the TV. Yeah, I think like for me, I'm mostly just really bummed to see the change, and I hope I'm proven wrong, but I don't see how I will be, because it's just so incredible to have the women on a Saturday and give them their own spotlight. Like we've talked about this before, how you can't force men's cycling fans to be women's cycling fans. There are fans that are going to come over and see the women's sport and be like, oh my gosh, actually, this is really great. I love this. I'm going to watch this. But you can't just like throw the women in front of men's cycling fans and expect them to be fans of women's cycling as well. And I think giving them their own day, like, yeah, there might be less people on the course on the Saturday. Now, wait 5 years, but there might be less people now than you see on the Sunday, but it's still magical to have the women have an entire day all to themselves. In terms of being a journalist, for me, like I'm already just prepping myself for the fight that is going to be the homepage of Escape and every single other media site, trying to keep the women's coverage in the top spot when the men's race is going on at the same time, and there's 5 people covering the men's race and 2 people covering the women's race, and like you can't win, because like it just like the numbers don't lie. More people are interested in the men's race. And if you have the race on its own day and you have the entire staff covering that one race, because it's the big race of the day, like you get 5 times the written pieces out of the race than it is on the same day. I mean, like with Flanders, it's always like such a battle to get any kind of coverage of the race compared to the men's. And now I have to do it again with Paris Roubaix Femmes, and I'm just so bummed about that, because it was so cool to have like everyone on staff being like stoked for the women's race. And everyone on staff is stoked for the women's race, but they also, we have journalists who cover the men's race and journalists who cover the women's race. And when they're both going on at the same time, like people have to do their jobs. You can't just cross over. So in that sense, it's like, I'm just really gutted for that. And for the fact that, like on media sites all over the world, the women will be coming second to the men again, as always, when we used to have just the spotlight. For like one day we had the spotlight.
Can I bring up a point that was brought up on, I don't know if it was Discord or the article you wrote, Abby, but someone's question, what will happen in the showers?
Yeah, I saw that. And I was like, oh my God, I actually didn't think about that. Like, are the women not going to be able to use the Paris-Roubaix showers? Because the men will be in there already. And like,
there's going to have to be like a quick turnaround of washing out those showers, I think.
Yeah. I mean, they won't, they probably won't. Like, I mean, it'll be like, the winner, the winner has the showers all to themselves because they've got like the press conference and stuff afterwards. And it's always really cool to have like the winner in there alone with like all the media and stuff. And like now it's going to be kind of like the women are all just going to be waiting outside until take a shower.
Yeah.
Or they just won't. Like they'll just take showers on the bus, because
I don't know.
I wouldn't want to stand around and wait to take a shower when
There's your piece.
Cold.
Shower gate. I'll be there on the ground. I'll stand at the
Loren,
entrance of the shower.
Are you gonna go hover outside the shower and see what's happening?
Yeah.
No, I think like, and for me, one of the first things I thought of was how big of an impact weather has on Paris-Roubaix. Like I was talking about this with my husband about how if it's a dry Roubaix, like if you're in the back of the peloton or you're in a group that's off the back, it's more likely you will get a puncture because of all the riders going over the cobbles and stuff and rocks being kicked up and even the cobbled, like the hard cobbled sectors, cars are diverted around it. But like for some of the cobbled sectors, the cars go right over it as well. And so for the women, they're going to have the entire men's peloton and men's caravan go over all the cobbled sectors, except the like really hard ones, before the women even race. And so if it's like really dry, there's a likelihood that like that punctures could be a bigger issue. If it's really wet, it's going to be absolute chaos. Like it's already hard. It's already like a really difficult and dangerous race. And I'm not saying it's going to be too hard for the women if it's muddier, but it's just like an added level of danger that I think a lot of the women already, like Ellen Van Dijk famously hates Paris-Roubaix because it's just such a dangerous race. And if you have like when the women race on Saturday, they have a whole crew that goes out and cleans up the cobbles before the men race on Sunday. They can't have like a crew sweeping corners in between the two races,
Mm.
So I think it's just a lot of things. Like there's a lot.
I think we can just put this down to being told all the good things that distract you from actually seeing that it's not that good for women cycling.
I think one of the other things that they were talking about in the Discord that we can just really quickly mention is they did all these changes to the course, but they're still diverting the women around the Arnberg Forest, which is like the most iconic cobbled sector in Paris-Roubaix homes. Most of the Discord and also comments on the piece that I wrote seem in agreement that the women should race over the Arnberg Forest. Every single female that I've talked to has no interest in racing through the Arnberg Forest. It's like brutal. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of like a give the women the full Milan San Remo, and the women are like, no, that's fine, thank you. Or like give them a 21-day Tour de France, and they're like, we don't want that. We're fine with 14 stages, thanks. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that there are riders who would love to go through Arenberg. Like, I bet a lot of Kopecky would like eat that, like, eat that up. She would be stoked. But I think, yeah, it's not like a top priority for the women to race through the Arenberg Forest.
Who knows? Maybe one day,
Yeah.
20
I
years,
mean,
once the sport's
once
evolved,
again,
you never
it's
know.
not too hard. It's just like, we're still just getting used to Paris Roubaix. And I think like only now are the teams and the women kind of figuring out how to race Paris Roubaix. And if you threw the Arenberg in there, like that just takes everything that they've learned and throws it on its head. It would completely change the race. And I don't know if it changed it for the better.
Yeah, and it would
or the worse. Probably
it would
for
come
the
so
better.
early in the race too.
Yeah,
Too early.
yeah. I mean, it would be like in the first third of the race.
Well, I guess watch this space. It's just 2 months away, date-wise.
Yeah. And we'll be there, Loren, on the ground.
Are you
So
coming
excited.
as well for Roubaix?
Yeah, I'm coming for Roubaix. It's my first Roubaix.
Ooh,
Oh my
jealous.
gosh. So we'll get to
excited.
experience the chaos together.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
We're going to get to see each other like all week.
Can you get me a press pass?
Yeah, for sure I can get you a press pass. All right. Well, we talked about bike racing a lot. And now can we talk about the only thing that I care about?
Are we going to start with your idea first, or are we just going to discuss what's been happening?
No, first I want to just say I want to just like continuation on the conversation we were having last week, because a couple of the Discord members had some good what winter sports could current World Tour riders do. Brody texted me to tell me that she prefers to do snowboarding, not skeleton. So there's that. Heidi Franz for the bobsled. She's very small, compact. She could just like, she'd fit. Yeah.
She's got a good name for Winter Olympics.
Heidi Franz. She does.
Yeah.
Mavi Garcia apparently she either used to figure skate or something. I think, yeah. So I'm going to say Mavi Garcia for figure skating. Mavis Squiban, I think she'd be great at biathlon. She's she's a silent killer, like really strong, but she sneaks in there. It's terrifying. Kat Ferguson, I think she'd be really good at alpine skiing, but specifically giant slalom. Like you have to be like a really specific person to be good at giant slalom, and I think she would do it. Alternatively, Mariana Voss would be really good at slalom, my favorite event. Sidrine Kerbal, this is from the Discord, skeleton. And I think it's like a running theme of riders who go downhill really fast. And I agree. Puck Peterse, slopestyle snowboarding. Allison Jackson, hockey, that's too easy. But I could see her being like, her elbows go out quite far. Like, I wouldn't want to be up against the boards and see her coming at me with an elbow or a shoulder. No, thank you. So I think she'd be great at hockey and loves a team sport, Allison. But also track riders seem to go to bobsled quite easily. The case of Kelsey Mitchell, the Canadian track cyclist, she is currently in Italy competing for the bobsled, which is pretty cool. She went to Paris 2 years ago and now she's at the Winter Olympics, which is a really cool story. But yes, I have a new topic for us to discuss today. My current obsession, I'll write about her in the newsletter, but Deanna Stellato-Dudek, who is a Canadian pairs figure skater, she retired 18 years ago. She spent 16 years out of competition, came back 2 years ago, won the World Championship pairs title, and is now making her Olympic debut at the age of 42. So my question is, it's amazing. It's so cool. Also, she wears Oscar de la Renta, which is just like really, 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 really cool for those of us who care about fashion.
I was like, what? But wait, it's her Olympic debut.
It's her Olympic debut at 42.
Wow.
And 16 years out of the sport.
Why'd she step away?
Incredible. I don't know. I haven't done. I'll do more research for the newsletter, but I've just been like just in awe of her. And actually, I texted Tom's and I was like, I've been out of cycling for 6 years. What are the chances that if I quit my job and I spent all my time, my work hours dedicated to training for Nordic skiing. What are the chances that I could go to the Olympics in 2030 for Nordic skiing for Latvia? And he was like, he said, yeah, he said he thinks I could do it. Which, so this Canadian figure skater is putting ideas in my head that shouldn't be there. I mean, if I could, I would, but let's be realistic.
I mean, I will say this, it's in the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, it's not like totally
No.
it's not 100% impossible.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So here's my question for us. Who could return to the peloton now who's been retired and compete with the current peloton, with the best? Who could come back to the sport and still be relevant?
It's a good question.
All right.
Thank you. I was excited.
Sounds like Lauren's got a list. I've got someone in mind, but Loren, you go.
I now like thinking of the age comparison as well. I have one athlete. Based on what I've heard from people from this nation who knew her personally, who actually rode with her and said she was a generational talent, I think it could be Nicole Cook. Controversial athlete, but she's 42 now, been out of the sport 2008 or 9. So almost 20 years as well. It's an almost direct comparison. She was a former world champion and Olympic champion, I believe. So yeah, I think Nicole Cook, from what I've heard, talent-wise, if we're thinking someone who was so talented from that generation that would have the capacity, would she be winning? I don't know. But fun fact, she was competing against Marion Vos in the 2006 World Championships, where Vos won her first world title at 19, and she got second or third to Vos.
I feel like when I was thinking about this, I only thought as far back as like recently retired, because I think the sport has changed so much that it's a harder question to answer.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was like trying to think of a direct comparison of that generation because, to your point, how much the sport has evolved. And there are some incredible athletes, but now I think their age, that would be the problem. So I had Judith Arndt.
Yeah, that was who I had.
Who I think if she still had her time. Yeah, I think Judith would still be super competitive. But again, that Judith was already, I think, mid-30s, Gracie, when she retired.
Yeah, so I looked her up. She's just 49 now, so possible.
Yeah.
But
possible.
That's why I thought
Nicole would be maybe.
I think she's a talent that would have crossed most generations, though. Like, she was pretty special.
Yeah.
Age-wise, I mean, I think like the easiest answer is Annemiek, because he's just.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But what I love about Annemiek is that I don't think she ever would want to. She's so happy.
No, she's done. Like,
but she could though. Like, if
she
could,
wanted
to.
I think she's definitely an athlete like Dignan now. Like, they're done. They're happy with what they achieved. They don't need to come back to the sport.
Someone that I think could come back and maybe not like be winning, but could definitely like make it in the peloton is Monique Taniglo, Voss's partner. I mean, she trains with Voss every single day.
What about Evelyn Stevens? She's been retired 10 years. That's a good pick.
I wonder
engine wise, for sure.
Yeah, engine wise for sure. I wonder if she would like find the bunch even harder to navigate these days. Because that was always what got her in the end.
I think she would appreciate the professionalism now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What about Bronzini? Do you think she could come back?
I did think about Bronzini. I thought
about her and Ina.
Yeah. I thought Ina over Bronzini because if you look at the full palmares of Ina actually had a bigger engine. You know, she got some pretty notable time trial results during her career too. So I think in terms of we look at how fast the peloton is now, like nothing to take away from Bronzini, but I think Ina would do better. Yeah, it is a fun game though.
It is, yeah.
It's a really fun game. Yeah. I definitely wouldn't.
I did think of you, Loren.
How do you
feel like you?
Yeah,
like it's obviously a long story, and you had plenty of your own personal reasons, but I feel like you still had so much to give, and you were very talented.
Yeah,
and I think you've changed so much mentally since you retired. Like, I think you've experienced so much that the mindset you would have now if you were to return would be more like a better thing for you, like a better mental environment for you, if that makes
Probably.
sense.
Yeah. I also had I was playing the game with Hannes about not returning to cycling, but like if there was a different sport. And then I was thinking about Winter Olympics and I was like, yeah, Abby thinks I'd be good at bobsled. Do you think I could like, same thing. If I dedicated all my time, could I make the Winter Olympics in 2020? When is it? 2030, the next one?
2030, yeah.
Yeah. It is a fun game to play, but
I mean, you could for
I'm okay
bobsled.
with it.
Actually, you could, especially if you represented Belgium, then I think you'd have a pretty good shot. They're typically not so good at Winter Olympics, Belgium.
No, we only have some decent speed skaters, like one Bart
Yeah, there's
Swings.
a couple good speed skaters. There's
Actually,
a good alpine skier, but he's like the first ever Belgian
yeah,
who's good at alpine skiing.
surprising, we're not so far from snow. I mean, it's like not in our day-to-day lives over the winter, but yeah, if Aussies can excel. That said, Australia invests way more time and emphasis into professional sports.
Yeah.
Not a
Yeah.
thing here. Is there like a Masters Olympics?
Well, I don't know. Have you ever seen the Baby Olympics? It's
No.
amazing. It's so great.
What's the Baby Olympics?
It's like they have like a bunch of babies doing the Olympic sports and like none of them can do them, but it's like so cute and they all have their own little like country kit and stuff. It's amazing.
I'll have to look that up when I need like a little pick me up of content.
No, but I mean, I think like this Olympics has been really cool. The elderly sportswomen,
The elderly
the not
what do you
youngins.
mean?
I mean,
Older.
you have
Older.
You
It's
have
like-
like Lindsey Vonn, who obviously like
It's like geriatric
like
pregnancy.
Lindsay, maybe
The geriatric athletes.
the
Yeah,
geriatric
exactly.
Olympians.
Yeah.
You have like Deanna in the speed skating, and Lindsey Vonn obviously like didn't end the way that she wanted, but like it was an incredible story, Lindsey Vonn. But I think like the most impressive story happened last night. In Elena Myers Taylor, the most decorated Black Winter Olympian of all time. In the mono bobsled, she won the gold medal, and she's 41 with 2 kids. This is her 6th Olympic medal. But before she had 2 bronze, 3 silvers, and last night she won the gold medal finally. And her story is like unreal cool. I mean, like, so she's 41. She has 2 kids, both of them special needs. I think one of them is deaf, so she's learned sign language to communicate with him. And they're all there with her, and she finally won her gold medal.
Yeah, so cool.
It's been I feel like it's been a feel good Olympics. I saw somewhere a story about how this Olympics has like kind of brought back the magic of the Olympics. Like after so many years of kind of negative Olympics is like where like I don't know, I think it's a bit of a weird one because it's kind of like you had the Olympics in Brazil and then you had like China, Sochi, all these places where it seemed like a lot of sports washing to have the Olympics there and the negative impacts environmentally of having the Olympics and building these Olympic villages that then kind of went into disrepair and weren't used for anything else and all that. And the last 2 Olympics in Paris and Italy, which obviously like they would have more resources to have those Olympics in like France and Italy versus like Brazil, but the Paris Olympics, what they've done with like the Olympic Village and everything and having it be more environmentally sustainable, and then also the ones in Italy now that it's spread across so many different places that it's not as big of a strain on one place, that it's brought back a little bit of the like magic of the Olympics.
Yeah, I think like you touched on that. It's the location has something to do with it. It takes the shine off it when they have the Olympics in places that are struggling more. And unfortunately, like that's not fair, but it's kind of just the reality. I feel like the Paris Games and then now the Milan Games have been these nice examples of how sport does bring people together and how those moments can make you feel good when there's so much bad stuff happening in the world that it's like a moment to remind us that we do have humanity, that we can connect, that we can dream, that we can come together. Some of it for sure is escapism. Some of it for sure is privileged entertainment that is distracting from some of the problems. But there's still some beautiful stories that shouldn't be overlooked either for the positivity that they can bring back into our lives when there's so much crap going on. But there's also athletes that are trying to bring their profiles and their voices into these games that are getting really punished for it. And that is hard to watch as well.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, I think like you can so easily get lost in everything that's going on in the world and just feel so depressed every single day from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. If you're reading the news or even just going on social media and just the toxicity that's on there, that like having the Winter Olympics to escape to for 2 weeks. But I like that, like a lot of the American athletes specifically, and also the Ukrainian skeleton racer with his helmet, like I like that the athletes are using the platform that they have to advocate for what they believe in. And I think it's really important. It's not like we can turn off the rest of the world. And yeah, the backlash, I mean, this is what I was going to write about in the newsletter today, or as you're listening, this is a part of the newsletter, is when did we stop respecting athletes? Like there's like one of the big things I feel like that I've been watching with these Olympics is just like if you watch like Michaela Schifrin in the GS a couple days ago, went in not even as a favorite, but because she's Michaela Schifrin, she has eyes on her and then doesn't perform to the level people think she is going to, even though she hasn't been in GS all year, and then just gets absolutely ripped to shreds by the media and people on the internet together. And you're like, you don't even know what you're talking about, for one, but also like, when did this become the norm? To like think that it's okay to go into the comments of athletes and just rip them to pieces, to like tell athletes, like to Amber Glenn had to like go off social media because of all the hate she got because she's just advocating for the LGBTQ community with her platform, and she's getting like death threats. And like, when did that become okay? When did people decide that that was like a thing that they can do? Like where is the respect for these figures that have, you know, dedicated their whole lives to their craft and should be like, we should be in awe of them?
You know what I think it is that there are people that will always have these thoughts, and probably before it was all internalized, or maybe you would turn to your partner and say something. But this, I'm thinking in a land or a time before social media, or the fact that everything is at our fingertips, but people feel so protected online that I feel it brings out even the worst in some human beings, and it becomes addictive in a sense. I think these people that troll, or I've never written a horrible thing on social media. I've never commented one horrible thing about anything, even if it's about a really horrible person, and there are a few of those at the moment. But I think that's it. It's the fact that it's not moderated. You can put whatever the hell you want out there now, and there's yeah, like I said, there's no responsibility or consequences for people to just say this shit. Like the effort must be to like go to someone's Instagram profile and then scroll through the comments and read what's being put there, and then really think about like putting something really. I can't fathom it. I don't understand it, and it's a really sad direction that we're moving in as a society, in a sense. And it makes me even more sad having children that on a smaller scale, how kids have to deal with that on a day-to-day basis at school in terms of bullying. So yeah, it's very toxic. There are some really amazing things that come out of the internet and social media, like Coach Jackie, for example. And mostly my algorithm is just full of people like that.
I sent her a message on Instagram and I was like, how do we get you to the Tour de France, Femme? And I
was thinking about
sure
that
she
this morning.
Hasn't seen it. Like,
yeah,
sure
I bet she gets a lot of messages.
Yeah.
You just have to keep trying. I've heard that's like And then
Keep
hopefully,
messaging her.
yeah, and hope that she checks her like the junk box because you won't. I don't know if you'll go directly into her messages. But anyway,
No, but I think if you keep messaging her, you keep getting moved to the top. Maybe, I don't know.
just
She
try.
did a video recently about how she was joking, but she was like how she keeps the guy from Heated Rivalry got a haircut, and she was like, he got a haircut because he keeps getting
Oh
stopped on the street
yeah.
because people think that he's me. And it was just so funny. And I'm going to use that as a segue to mention Heated Rivalry again because I think that that show
Yes.
has probably done more for hockey, maybe for sport, than the Drive to Survive has done for F1, and definitely
Oh,
what Unchained
100%.
has done for cycling. And I feel like we're about to see this new wave. So I feel like we've gone through the trend of like watching rich people do rich people things on TV. And I feel like we're about to enter our sports era on streaming services thanks to Heated Rivalry. So I feel like we're going to be seeing so many more good shows based around sports with like cool diversity pieces or like at least some sex. Like, I don't know, just make it fun, make it good, make it interesting. Use that as a storytelling element rather than just like this like full on masculine version of sports. So I'm excited to see what's going to come from this new wave of, storytelling in sports through the media like that. Because, yeah, Heated Rivalry is the whole thing, and I'm here for it.
I'm here for it as well, and I'm really excited about. Is it season 4, Ted Lasso? Because
Oh,
they're
yeah, it's
gonna
going to
have
be
a women's
women.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's coming out. I think it's coming out this summer. I'm
yeah.
so freaking excited. I would
So I
say,
think
Lauren, we can watch
Gracie's
it at the
onto
Tour de
something.
France, but we can't. We'll be too
Well,
busy.
there is no time. I can watch it while you're transferring us from stage to stage.
No.
No. I think Gracie's definitely onto something. I'm here for it as well.
Oh, that'd be so great. I mean, I want more shows about like the people like the people that are athletes. Like I don't know if that will help the social media problem that we're seeing at the moment, but just like they're just people. Like I don't know if they forget that like there's a person inside that athlete like that has their own struggles and has gone through their own shit and everything like but yeah, I just love like women's sports and women in sport and also men. One of my favorite stories from the Olympics has been the Brazilian. Yeah, I love that. Nice shirt. The Brazilian ski racer who, well, he's like half Norwegian, half Brazilian, but his story is incredible. I'll probably also write about that in the newsletter. I will return to cycling in the newsletter when the Winter Olympics are over. Everyone only has one more week to deal with me and my winter sports obsession. But yeah, I love how obsessed people are with Heated Rivalry. It's been like a theme at the Olympics as well, which is so great. I mean, like I think the Canadians, they have like a moose outside of their like main house in like the bigger athlete village. So like the Paris, they had like a big moose outside of the Canadian house in Paris, and they have one in Milan, and they named the moose Shane Hollander.
That's good.
Great. I love it.
Yeah. Oh man, Heated Rivalry.
I guess that's our obsession, right?
Heated Rivalry forever.
Yeah, forever.
Forever and ever.
They're making a season 2.
Can't wait. Cannot wait. So good.
My other obsession, if we're diving into obsessions, I've just been it's no lie that I'm a Margot Robbie fan. I saw Wuthering Heights on Sunday night with my girlfriend.
yeah, how was it?
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Okay. I've heard mixed reviews.
Yeah, I think like if you're a really die-hard Bronte fan and you want like script for script if you wanted to follow the book, then you're going to be really disappointed. But I mean, she's just brilliant, and the chemistry between the two of them was incredible. And I've just been obsessed about like their press tour.
Yeah, she does such good
Everything about it.
press tour dressing.
Oh,
The Barbie tour was amazing,
Yep.
and these outfits for Wuthering Heights have been very good as well.
So I've been enjoying it.
The director also for Wuthering Heights, Emerald Fennell, who did Saltburn and Promising Young Woman, she is like, I think you either like really love her style or you don't. She's got such a unique style of filmmaking. Some of it can be very like, I don't know if camp is the right word, but I mean like some of Margot Robbie's costumes in Wuthering Heights are just so like outlandish, and like the way that she uses color, and specifically the color red. I think it's like, yeah, it's either something that you like really love or can't really stomach. You know what I mean?
Well, I loved her other films, so I'm looking forward to seeing this one. But yeah, I haven't read a lot of Bronte. I don't think I've read Wuthering Heights, so I don't really care. That doesn't bother me. I love Margot Robbie too. I listened to her interview on Smartless, which was the most recent of on that pod. And like we've talked about her before, especially you and I, Loren, because we have like 1 degree of separation with her. And on that pod, she was just like such a down-to-earth person. And you're just like, surely this is what she's like. She just sounds like someone so fun to hang out with and easy. She seems very cool. But obviously, yeah, you don't know for sure, but because of the friends that we know she's friends with, you know that there's a good chance she's probably pretty cool and pretty nice.
I like her. I like the way that she's taken on her career. Like, I was listening to a podcast about her last week, or it was Pop Culture Happy Hour, but they were talking about her in their I can't stop thinking about they have like a similar, this is where I got this whole like obsessed with segment is from that podcast, and talking about her career trajectory, where the way that she built up her career, she has a lot of control over what projects she does now, and like she puts a lot of thought into what she does and how she has control over what work she does, and a lot of that is like by becoming a producer on a lot of the things that she does. And I think it's really cool that she's been able to do that with her career.
Oh,
And
she's a really smart woman. Like, yeah, got a good business mind as well. So, no, it's great just to see this talent coming out of Australia, and I think she is going to go down as one of the greats of this
And
generation.
Abby, she plays ice hockey.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah. Well, she hasn't for a little while,
incredible.
but she did when she moved to the States because she was obsessed with it.
Wow, what a
there
legend.
You go.
Listen to the Smartless interview.
Great. Well, then
she talked about it.
Okay, well then she needs to make a TV show about the formation of the PWHL. Like, I want her producing a TV show about like how women's hockey decided to form the PWHL. I want her doing that. That's what I want.
It's a good pitch because her production company
hockey.
does focus on women's stories. So
exactly. Margot Robbie, if you listen to this podcast, can you please make a women's hockey?
We know you listen.
We know you listen. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it for today. Thanks everyone so much for listening, and we'll be back next week to talk about opening weekend. We are so close to the Spring Classics. They are coming. Get ready.
This episode was produced, edited, and mixed by Will Jones at Red Bricks Media.